Good morning. This is Pastor Jason of Corner Faith Center with the word for today. And the word for today is fight. Fight the good fight of faith. We war not against flesh and blood, but against a real enemy who has a real strategy, who has a real army, and our enemy is after our faith. The first temptation was a direct assault against faith. Has God really said? If the enemy can knock us off our faith, he wins. Paul writes to Timothy today, don't get into endless debates. I don't think this is a specific problem that we have. I think the opposite is the problem. It appears to me that significant time discussing the Word is not part of our daily lives. The enemy has introduced the idea of tolerance, except, of course, no tolerance for Christianity and its values. This appears to me to be because of the assault from the intelligentsia, the educators, the media, who have lied to us about the separation of church and state, who have taught us it's okay to talk about every kind of perversion known to man. It's okay to talk about every kind of foolishness. It's okay to talk about every fantasy that man can come up with in the public square, but it is not okay to talk about Jesus. It is not okay to talk about the Word in the public square. Paul writes that instead of talking about perversion, foolishness, fantasy, and things that do not build faith, we are to talk about those things that do build up people's faith. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word. We got to remember that the goal of building people's faith up is love. Love from a pure heart, from a good conscience, and from sincere faith. Many have turned aside and lost their way. The anger and hatred, the lack of politeness, the lack of civility, definitely the decline in the Oha spirit surprises me. Where I see it the most is in people who are most adamant about not talking about Jesus in the public square. The people that want me to just accept their perversion, their sin, but they also want me to celebrate their perversion and their sin, but don't talk about, much less celebrate Jesus, His Word, biblical morality. The only glimmer of hope I see in our society is always with people who talk about Jesus and His Word. They seem to be much more loving, much more kind, much more compassionate, much more civil, much more polite. So what's the point today, Pasta? Great question. Fight the good fight of faith. Make it who you are to talk about Jesus, the Word, biblical morality. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word. Do not give in to the pressure of the enemy to not have Jesus conversations. Make sure that our Jesus conversations, our Word conversations, have the goal and the motivation of love. To love people enough to tell them the truth, to love people enough to confront the lie, to love people from a pure heart, a good conscience, and sincere faith, to love people enough to build them up in faith, to love people enough to fight the good fight of faith. The word for today is fight. God bless. Check in tomorrow.